Welcome to the first Adobe Illustrator tutorial. In this tutorial, we're looking at how to use the pen tool. So I've downloaded a stencil from the Mighty, which is a YouTuber. So I want to thank him first for that. So what we need to do is download the stencil from the YouTube description. And then what you do is you open up Illustrator, go to open. So search for the stencil wherever you saved it to. Okay, so it should be called Mighty Pen Tool Beginner's Guide. So just open that. Okay, so I should have a guide there. Just before we get started, the difference between Photoshop and Illustrator is that Photoshop is for raster images, so for bitmaps. So you're going to use that for editing, for touching up photos and the like. The purpose of Illustrator is the vector-based program. So you're designing logos, t-shirt designs, anything that's what we call scalable. So if you're trying to develop something for a business card all the way up to a billboard. So it's not as detailed as, say, Photoshop in terms of what you can do with it, but it is very powerful for designing any sort of graphic arts or anything you might want to import into Adobe Animate. So you can see here it looks slightly different to Photoshop. On the side here with our tools, the first couple of YouTube tutorials will be around some of the tools here. And on the right-hand side, we have the properties relating to our tool. So today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using something called the pen tool. Mastering the pen tool is probably one of the most important aspects of Adobe Illustrator, as it allows us to create custom shapes and lines which we can use for logos. So as I said before, we're going to be using the Mighty's template, which is very good. So what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in up to here. So in the bottom left-hand corner, if you go to percentage, type in 100%. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start off with, you scroll up to the top, with the first part, which is straight lines. So the most simple thing that you can do using the pen tool, which is located the third option, be mindful I'm using Adobe Illustrator 2020, so it might look slightly different for you, depending on your version. But what you do is you're looking for this icon, and if you hover over it, it will say pen tool. So if we select the pen tool, then we'll have some options on the side here. We have fill, stroke, and opacity. So fill is what we can do as we're drawing, is we can actually fill in the area. I suggest for the purpose of this tutorial that we leave this as no transparency. So to do that, you select fill, then you select the sort of, slash there, and it says none. And then we're going to change the opacity to blue. Also, I should say the stroke to blue. And opacity is basically whether or not you want to have translucent or transparent image. We're going to leave that as 100%. So the first thing with the pen tool is there's a few tricks to it. First is if you left click and hold on it, it will draw in any direction that you can see there. So you can see there that we've got the smart grid there. So this basically allows us to see the pink line indicating which direction it's going in, angle. So what we do is we want to left click here, left click on this point, and then left click on this point. And there are a few different ways that you can actually stop the pen tool from working. The easiest way is to select enter on your keyboard. Okay, so you've done your first line there. If we go to the next part, which is a hexagon, what we're going to do is we're going to then show you one more advanced part. So what you can do is you've left click on here, and you can hold down shift if you want to. And what shift will do is it goes at 45-degree angles. Now, not so much useful here. We'll be using the next one. Okay, so now we're going to be looking at how to draw a hexagon. So left click at the beginning, then click at the first point. Now we call each of these points a control points. So that's the first control point. We go to our second control point, third control point, fourth control point, and then finally the fifth control point. And as I said before, the easiest way to stop the pen from drawing is to press enter. The last example here is to draw a 45-degree triangle. So what we're going to do is we're going to start here, and then you select the point to start off with. So left click on that. Then you go to the second one. And if you go to the second one, hold your shift key down. What this lets us do is draw at 45-degree angles. Now this is really useful for drawing, obviously angles at 45 degrees. So hold shift down, then you basically left click at this anchor point, then go to your final anchor point, and then press enter if you need to be. So if we zoom out slightly, you should have completed the first straight line tutorials. Okay, so if we scroll down to the second page, the next step is we're going to look at something called Bezier curves. So Bezier curve is basically a non-straight line inside Illustrator, and these are really powerful because this lets us do custom shapes of not just right angles or 90-degree angles. So these can be quite complicated first, and you might want to practice them a bit. There is some practice time at the end where you can practice the Bezier curves. But my advice is to take your time when doing this because it's easy to make a mistake. So make sure you get your pen tool selected. Okay, so this time we're going to left click and hold. And you can see that we have a sort of guide coming up. Now this guide is going to indicate how high the curve is going to be. So if I left click here or release, then you can see that I can then make a curved line. At this point, it doesn't matter whether or not it's exactly the same as the right curve here. So what we're going to do is we're going to left click our second control point or anchor, hold it again. And you can see if we go up or down, we can change the direction of it. So if we go down to where our control point goes up, you can see that we are meeting the line of the curve. So I'll say it again. If you go up, you're going to do like an S curve. If I go down, I am going to make a sort of rounded curve. So if I let go now, you can see I've done my first one. So I might have to press enter. You can see you've done your first Bezier curve. So if we scroll across to the next one, this is the same one, but instead of having 2 control points, we have 3 control points. So this time what we're going to do is we're going to start in the middle here at anchor point, left click and hold, draw our line up to the first guide. Okay, let go of left click. Then we're going to go across to our middle control point. Okay, left click and hold. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go down. Okay, and then let go again and go to our final control point. Left click, and then this time go up and then hold. And once you're happy with it, you can let go. Now, and then make sure you press enter at the end. Now, at any time, if you want to adjust it, all you need to do is hold down Control and then select the point. And that way, you can then change it again. And then you can adjust the handles as you need to. Okay, so Control and handles. Okay, so now we have a 45-degree curve. So what we need to do is we need to left click at the anchor point and then left click, hold shift, and then go up on a 45-degree angle. Then let go to your second last anchor point, left click and hold shift, and then go up and then let go. So that's a 45-degree Bezier curve. Okay, so if we scroll down to the next part, now you've completed those Bezier curves, what I want you to do is use the pen tool to practice these 2 parts, drawing this sort of balloon shape image and then to copy using the pen tool guidelines. Now, both of these are extension challenges. Just be mindful that if you make mistakes, you can undo, or you can select the control points, hitting Control, and change the angles again. Thank you for watching this tutorial.